shaking, everyone? Welcome back to Mindset Motivated with Zack George and myself, Robert Bruski, the podcast where we talk about all things mindset and all things motivation. And I think, you know what, just my own mindset and motivation, I start to get way more enthusiastic about these intros.
I know. Yeah.
I think if you listen back to episode 1, I'm like, hey, everyone, welcome back. But you know what? That all comes from thinking about how far our words can reach and the change it could make. In other words, the subject of this episode, which is big picture thinking.
That's correct. Robert, big picture thinking. I've got a story my dad told me. My dad was my Kung Fu coach.
Okay.
He was my big picture, Jean-Claude Van Damme from Bloodsport. As a child, that was my big picture. And, it made my life very easy, a very painful life. Very easy to do because that big picture I was just walking to my picture. I didn't care what was around me. Made everything much more simple. So if there's a story of the 3 brothers back in ancient China. The father was going to pass away and he said to his 3 sons, the one of you that can walk the straightest line will inherit my estate.
All right.
So he pointed the horizon and he said, all right, in the snow, you're gonna walk the straightest line, whoever can, I'm gonna pass it on to. So the first son looked down at the ground, he watched his feet, and he walked one step in front of the other in the straightest line that he possibly could. He did not take his eyes off the ground. He just looked and just one step right in front of the other. And when he got to the horizon, he looked back and the line was like veered and wavy and off base, right?
Yep.
Second son said, you know what, I got this. He's an idiot. The guy was looking down in front. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk backwards. So he turned around and he watched his steps one after the other. He looked back. It looked straight. Got to the horizon. He looked up at the rest of the line and it was crazy. It was
right.
Like zigzagged and crossed.
I think I know where you're going with this one.
The third son, he said, okay. And he walked a perfectly straight line all the way to the horizon. And the other brother said, how did you do that? He said, I picked a tree and I walked to it.
He looked into where he's going.
Bang. He looked at the big picture. He looked at right at the top of the horizon. He saw that big tree at the top of the horizon and he locked dead set on it and he walked directly towards it.
Right.
And the road was treacherous. There was hills. He didn't feel anything. Because he was just looking at that big picture, right? There could have been a tiger it didn't matter, man. This guy was looking directly at that goal line and that big picture. And he drove towards it. The key to success, listen, if you got a big picture, I'm telling you, and anybody that's very successful can tell you, you can.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, thank you.
We are never going to go with you're never going to create a successful empire business without at some point getting your ass handed to you, having something happen, losing everything at one point, almost losing everything at one point, and then coming back from it, right? And overcoming it. And most will give up, right? Because if your motive is just to make some money and be cool, the second things get tough, you're going to say, this is stupid. I can't do this.
Well, if you're thinking about the small things, like I have a really uncomfortable chair. Yeah. I hate this job. My desk is too high.
That's right.
I can't believe I have to drive through the winter. I wish there was no snow where I live. These are all small micro things.
But then if you're looking at your little beautiful daughter and thinking about putting her through college, all of a sudden it becomes a lot easier to go to work. Or if you're, a loved one gets sick, right? Yeah. And then all of a sudden you got to work harder to support. All of a sudden, those things that are treacherous and mundane, terrible for you to live through, that the things we complain about, go away because it just feels like our rite of passage for something that we are emotionally connected and motivated to. Your big picture goal has to be your dream that pumps your heart up when you think about it. Something that you'll do anything for, you'll go to any length to get.
Yeah.
Right. And then it can't just be to get a lot of money. It can't just be to pick up a lot of girls. It can't just be to, I want to have a big house and people think. It's got to be something that, I'm hitting my heart again, connects to you in here, and once you find that big picture thing, mine was to get my black belt as a kid, And by the time I turned 19, it took me 15 years. I got my black belt. And those times I had quit. A lot of self-doubt had come in. I had a lot of people that would make fun of me that I was doing martial arts. Again, those toxic people that cut you down for doing great. But I mean, as a kid, you don't know, right? And even when you're stepping out and you're trying to do things, if you don't have that big picture, you can easily be thrown off by people telling you it's not worth it. You can't do it. It's too competitive of a market. The economy's not good. Blah, 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 blah. Shut the frick up, right?
Like, well, you know what? What you're basically saying is that big picture thinking transcends profession, transcends age or time, transcends all these things because it can be applied to anything. A small child can have a big picture. I would love to be, a Grammy Award winning musician, an athlete. I'm a big fan of basketball. I love the Toronto Raptors.
Right.
And so for those of you that don't watch basketball, it's got 4 quarters in it, right? And I feel that a lot of times people give up in the 3rd quarter.
That's right.
They go, okay, the team's not going to win, and then they shut it off and go do something else, right? And that happens in life too. When things are struggling, people immediately turn to, it's failed, it's over, it's done. My mindset is, this is just the 3rd quarter.
Yeah.
This is where everyone
stumbles. This is where everyone gives up. This is deep water, baby.
Yeah.
This is where the big fish swim.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, too many people give up in the 3rd quarter. But the interesting thing about this, and this is a bit of a fallacy, okay? But this is what I love so much, is that any given point in your process, you could mentally say, this is the 3rd quarter. There's always another quarter.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's really big picture thinking.
Do you see how the big picture thinking now has changed the way that you would make choices or behave and the actions you would make? The way, your personality.
Absolutely. And you know what? I think a lot of entrepreneurs are big picture thinkers. Right. A lot of athletes are big picture thinkers. But because of that, they are less risk averse. An entrepreneur will say, I will take on this debt responsibly. Of course, they have to review it, but I will take on this debt because the bigger picture thing
that's right. About, and people are going to say you're crazy.
Yeah.
That,
An athlete will say, listen, I'm not going to go to this party, or I'm going to stop drinking, or I'm going to give up this unhealthy food because I need to get trim. That might feel a little risky or something that you would normally not do in the short term. But when you're thinking about these long-term goals, that's exactly what you salivate for.
And you know what? I think it takes your mind off thinking about, all the times that you failed or fallen. And if we think about approaching things without a big picture thinking, from our old mindset of all the things we've been through in life, that beat down person with nothing to go for is going to be afraid to do things. It's funny the way, as soon as you get a big picture and you get a thought, you start to change your behaviors and behave like somebody that would, I find as soon as I let go, or as soon as I get a big picture, say I want to be a role model or a great athlete or a great business owner. As soon as I pick that picture, I start to then behave more like that type of person. And without that purpose, I'm just going to behave like the people around me. I'm ionized by everybody.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And I'm just basically floating around.
You know who's a really good example of a big picture thinker? Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah, Miyagi.
You know what I mean? Because he made that guy wax on, wax off.
That's correct.
And he had no idea what he was doing. But
that's
the big picture there,
Yeah, that's another episode for us, though.
Cool.
Guys, we're running out of time now.
All right. There goes the bell. All right. That's it for this episode, guys, of Mindset Motivated with Zack and Robert. If you have any questions, reach out to us. If you've got subjects for an episode that you'd love to hear, reach out to us. If you just want to go out and grab some coffee, reach out to us. All right. So until next time, stay frosty, my friends.
Stay hungry.